should I say, or what advice I have for women, I say just be independent.
This episode of the podcast was filmed during the anniversary of the École Polytechnique Montreal tragedy. On December 6, 1989, 14 women lost their lives to a hateful anti-feminist shooting. In honor of the victims, we dedicate this episode to them. During filming, we wore white ribbons to raise awareness and promise our complete devotion to making this industry inclusive for all. We remember the lives of Geneviève Bergeron, Hélène Colgan, Nathalie Croteau, Barbara Daigneault, Anne-Marie Edward, Maude Aviernik, Barbara Kluxnik-Vidovich, Maryse Lagagnère, Maryse Leclerc, Anne-Marie Lemay, Sonia Pelletier, Michel Richard, Annie Saint-Arnaud, and Annie Turcotte. May we always honor their memory. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Iron Ring. I'm Alexandra, a civil engineering student.
And I'm Ruma, an industrial engineering student.
And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing how we can bridge the gender gap in engineering and computer science, but also venture into why it's such a special industry. But before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge and thank our first ever live studio audience for being here today. We have members from Women in Engineering and our lovely ambassadors here today. So again, thank you all for coming and being a part of this episode with us.
All right, now joining us in today's discussion is a really special guest whose name symbolizes a huge feat in the female representation in the industry. She was the first woman to receive a PhD in building engineering at Concordia University, and she made a generous donation to its engineering and computer science department, which was soon renamed after her. This made it the first engineering faculty of a university in Canada to be renamed after a woman. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Gina Cody.
Thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to kind of dive into this topic that we've been discussing, and we know you're a very big advocate in trying to empower more women to be in this industry, and that's what we all, as women in engineering, what we all really want to accomplish is to further increase the percentage of women in this industry. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for asking me and inviting me, and it's such a pleasure to be with all of you after all these period of being in solitude and away from public. So I cherish these moments, and seeing the Women in Engineering group, that even gives me a lot of energy, and hopefully we have a great discussion today.
Yes, and
I'm looking forward to it.
Great, us as well.
Thank you so much, and we're so happy to have it done in person in Montreal. So I'll
Yes.
start with the first question. So what motivated you to pursue a career in engineering and computer science, despite knowing how difficult it would be for a woman?
It goes back, and for a lot of you, probably you have similar history. It started with my father. He really encouraged me to get away with everything that men get away. So be participant in the society, especially being in Iran, in a society that probably is more male dominated than other countries. And for him, it was extremely important that both me and my sister survive in a man's world. And to do that, we had to be part of the areas that men were very strong at, and that was engineering. And I also loved fixing up things and being part of solution. And engineering to me is finding a solution to a problem. That kind of defines for me the whole definition of engineering. Just a little story, when I was, and some of you must have heard it, when I was 16 years old, I used to teach at my father's high school. I had a high school for boys, and I would teach boys 14 to 15 years old.
Wow.
And he used to say, if you can manage boys that age, you can manage anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that has proven to be true. So
Yes.
that
Mhm.
sort of gave me the ambition of really uh, keeping my head up in a male environment and survive. And my mom always believed that for her daughters to be independent and for her independence of women was extremely important.
Yeah.
And anytime somebody gives and asks me what should I say or what advice I have for women, I say just be independent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That's the only message I can leave with you as a woman. Be independent, be in charge of your own destiny. And to do that in any country, doesn't matter where it is, I think education is an
Education.
important thing.
Mhm.
And engineering to me is one of the professions that gives you that horizon as
Independence.
well and independence.
You said you and your sister, so did she went to engineering as well?
No, she became a dentist.
Wow. It's not bad at all.
It's the engineer of teeth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did the engineering aspect of it.
Yes.
And like, you mentioned about like being able to stand up, especially among like a community that's full of men. So what challenges did you encounter in your career, and how like did you overcome them?
The challenges are always there.
Mhm.
And it's not going to go away for, I think, men and women. But in the engineering world, the challenges are more for women because we are the minority group and we have to prove that we belong. And going back to when I started my career 40 years ago, that was very rare to see women, and it still is not in certain classes. Even talking with some of you, they say you go to a lab and there are not that many women in your classes. So we need to change that. And the challenges for me has always been being the only woman in the room. And my goal was to change that. I think we have come to an era that we cannot tolerate that anymore. We
No.
need to be out there.
Exactly.
And people like you, organizations like you, are really carrying that message. And that gives me so much energy because I feel that we all have a responsibility, and kudos to all of you to what you're doing, because you are really paving the road for the women coming after you. And you have a responsibility.
Yes.
Don't take your obligations lightly. You need to do this. This is part of your being because somebody else paved the road for you to sit here, for me to sit here and talk to you. So I cannot take that for granted, and I need to make sure that those coming after me have a better future than I had. So this is the
Yes.
way we can change it.
Yes, absolutely. And as you said, we do have that obligation of really being that representation, trying to kind of put ourselves out there to show other younger girls that, yes, we're here, we're doing these things, we're building these structures, we're building these different things that we do. So that's exactly, I think, our goal as women engineering. Absolutely. And I personally would say I started my first year at Concordia when the university was renamed after yourself. So I'd like to acknowledge that does push you in a sense to feel like, okay, so I'm studying at a university where the name of my department is a woman's name. So in that sense, it represents all of us, this woman, this successful, empowering woman. So yes, I would like to attribute your doings to how I am representing myself to other women as well. So I think, like you said, there is that trickle effect of one woman after the other, each paving the way for each generation.
Exactly.
So,
Like how you paved the way for us, we're hoping to do the same thing for the other generations.
Exactly.
And you're doing a great job. I'm so
Thank
proud
you.
of each and every one of you.
Thank you very much.
Honestly.
And I think we wanted, going back to what you were saying, where you felt like you were, the only woman, I guess, in your classes and stuff. How many women were actually in your class? Was it really just yourself?
The classes were undergraduate. I remember first year when I was TAing, it was so low. Like it was around 5% in the undergraduate. In the graduate, you would go, some classes you would be nobody else other than me. Some classes there would be a few. So depending on what classes you took. We had a few graduate school female students as well, but the numbers were low, absolutely.
Wow.
I have to tell you, like even when I entered the workforce, I went to a conference in early 80s and there were 700 attendees. I was the only woman.
Wow.
Oh my God.
700 attendees. And it was funny because the MC started the program by lady and gentleman.
Oh. At least
I
he
never
acknowledged
forget
you.
that moment.
Yeah.
So that creates a challenge, but I have to tell you that you always turn a negative to positive.
Mhm.
So I felt, okay, I'm the only person here. So I have a lot of responsibility because if I don't present my group and my gender properly, I've done them disservice. So I have an obligation to really be prepared and know my subject matter. And when I speak properly and say the right things. That put a lot of pressure, and I have to admit that. I always had the fear of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing. So that pressure is constantly with you. So that was my challenge, putting way too much pressure on myself,
And
I have to admit.
It's a lot of pressure, especially for women of color. Like they feel like they have knowledge to represent all women, but all the community as well. If they do a mistake, they feel like it's gonna like trickle down to like everyone. So there's always that
Absolutely.
double pressure that we have.
Exactly. But by the same token, when you know your subject matter and you speak properly, they take notice.
Yes.
And you're the only woman. They all remember your name.
Yeah.
Like everybody else is lost. They would remember me. And I think that helped me to succeed because of that negative aspect of my career, which helped me to become who I am. So I always say, take the challenges, deal with them, turn it around. You would be surprised how much good it can do for you if you know how to deal with it. Don't be fearful of going away from it, rather than take it as a challenge and have the courage.
Yes.
Yeah, like turning into an opportunity. To,
Absolutely.
Like,
Every negative to a positive. But it's a cliche, but it's really true.
Yeah, take those challenges on and pursue what you want to pursue, no matter what negatives are in your way. That's always the what we want to push in younger generations as well, is really, you feel this sense of, okay, well, I've been told that women aren't really meant to be in this program, but that's the challenge in itself, is overcoming that there's no such thing as one gender can't do something. So it's always meant to push down those barriers and really cross that. So that's what we want to instill. Exactly. And I think personally, I don't know, Ruma, if you feel this way as well, but I think of course we've come a very long way from when you were in engineering school, but I feel maybe about in our engineering core classes, maybe it's about a 70-30 split, 30% being women. So we have come a pretty long way, despite it still being low, and we would like to bring that back up. But is there anything that you would say helped to bring that increase in women in the engineering field from what you've seen in your experience in the field? Was there one thing or a few things that
there are a lot of issues that we need to handle. And a lot of them is the issues from, first of all, encouraging the children at high school and primary school.
Yes.
We need to change the parents' approach to their girls and boys. They shouldn't treat them differently, that this is for your brother, not for you, or vice versa. I think we need as many men in nursing as we do women in nursing. So why are limited amount of men nurses? And the same thing, we need more women in engineering. And why engineering, and why do I have such a focus on it at this period of in time? Because we are in fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
And during this revolution, which is on technology, the engineers and computer scientists are building our future. You're
Literally.
building the way we work, we play, we live. And if women are not part of the construction of this future, the future will be built for those, by those, for those who are building it.
Mhm.
So we have to encourage them to get into that. The other issue is that if the women don't get to STEM programs, the jobs that are available for women are going to diminish.
Yeah.
So not only they will be left behind, they will be further from current day,
Yes.
further behind. So we need to encourage them now to
Yeah.
get into engineering and computer science
Mhm.
because we need them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the society needs them. We are speaking all the time. The government, everybody knows that we are going to
Yeah.
have shortage of engineers and computer scientists in Canada. That is going to stop our prosperity, our economic growth.
Yes.
We will not be able to bring from other countries because every country in the world needs their own engineers. They're going to keep them. So we're going to even have problem of immigrating from and importing them from other countries.
Yeah.
So what is the solution for Canada? Get the women engineers.
Yeah,
That's
of
how you
course.
can build your numbers.
Yes.
So it is even a number issue. It's an issue that helps our country's growth. So there's a lot of advantages of having more women in engineering. Just to give you an example, one of the it's proven that facial recognitions, that packages that are being used by enforcement authorities are biased against blacks, minorities.
Mhm.
Why? It wasn't that people who build these AI and face recognition systems, they were mean to those minorities. They were all built by white male.
Yeah, exactly.
So these systems became biased sometimes by a factor of 10, which means 100 times. So it made a system that is notoriously biased against certain group even become way worse.
Yes.
And the authorities are using them all the time.
Yeah.
So we need diversity, we need the gender equality on building these systems. Otherwise, it will be biased against us.
And the fact what you said about starting it really young, starting in high school, it is really important. That's why we have a beautiful outreach program where we go to high school, elementary school, and we try to break down the stereotype that's around engineers. And even kids, they still don't know what engineering is, what they do. They all think it's like math heavy, physics heavy, but they don't know that the essence of it is, like you said, problem solving and really trying to demystify everything surrounding engineers. And that engineering is not specifically one type. This engineers for basically everyone. So really trying to demystify it since the beginning, like 100% agree with
And
that.
I want to tell you, I love that program of yours. I just adore it. And I try to participate whenever you ask me. That's, when you get those high school kids in the room and I talk to them and they are, their eyes are shining. And I
So
say, oh my
beautiful.
God, these are our future.
Yes.
So I really have to admire you guys for what you are doing. And thank you for carrying the torch.
Yes. That's exactly, that's exactly what we want to do is put that out there. And engineering, it's never going to go away. It's always going to be innovation after innovation. So like you said, if only a certain group of people are benefiting from it, then the rest of us fall behind. And that's completely the opposite of where this century, the 21st century, that's not where we're supposed to be at. Everyone always says in the 21st century we shouldn't be at these numbers, these such low numbers. We
Exactly.
should be much more advanced. But so like you said, I think it's incredibly important to keep this momentum. We need to keep following, being a part of these trends.
Absolutely.
And-
If you want the change, be part of the change.
Exactly. I love that.
Talking about the change, you made a fantastic donation that really changed the name of our department. And it's obvious that you have strong feeling for the engineering and computer science at Concordia University. And honestly, you could have used this huge amount of money in so many different ways. So why Concordia?
Many things. First of all, to me, institutions are the place that changes happen. So if we don't give to our institutions, I think we have not done right to our society, especially in an era where huge enterprises are running our world. Some of the companies out there they have GDP, their profit and their earnings far exceed many countries in the world, and they are shaping our society, and their main criteria is bottom line. It's based on profit. Institutions are not. And going back to myself, when I came from Iran during revolution, I arrived in Canada with $2,000, a girl in early 20s, and I got a scholarship at the university to do my master and PhD. And I felt at that time, I think I took it for granted, to be honest. I was oblivious to my luck. But later on, I looked back and I said, this institution changed my life.
Literally.
How can I do the same thing that happened to me to many, many more? And Concordia is an institution where diversity and inclusion is part of the fabric of this institution. And to me, where else could I put my efforts and my money to make a change? And the basic of my donation was for diversity and inclusion, to get more gender balance into the faculty of engineering and computer science, and also chairs in artificial intelligence, in Internet of Things that our society needs at the current time, because the tuition that is charged especially in Quebec, is enough for an institution to be a good university with the help of the government. But if you want our institutions to be pioneers, to be excellent places of research, we need to donate, and it needs a private sector contribution to that growth. And that's extremely important. And I always say it's really not about me, it's about our gender. And I think we need to change that outlook. And just seeing what you guys are doing, we have started the momentum, and hopefully we continue it and make it stronger, and it just becomes like an avalanche. It's just going to take over, hopefully.
And hopefully one day will be a norm, like a...
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes. And we will get there. I promise you, we will get there.
Yeah. And I think I've said it before too, just seeing men wearing sweaters with Gina Cody on it, it's a very
so
different
powerful.
aspect. It's really showing, okay, so, men are even proud that a woman is the representation of where they study and like what they stand for. So that in itself already, just the name, and it shows really to other women that, yes, okay, I'm being supported in some sort of way. So yeah, that's really, that was one really special thing that I see when I walk in the halls of Concordia is those things. So, but I guess, staying on the topic, funding, things like this, the Quebec government, they started doing a scholarship for up to about $20,000, I believe, for students who are in programs that are in demand. One of them being engineering is actually in high demand right now. We're not receiving as many people as we need in this industry. So do you see this demand and these governments funding these industries as a beneficial way of diversifying the industry?
Absolutely. Any funding by government for promoting engineering, and because our government needs it, our society needs it as a whole. This is, as we discussed earlier about, being in the fourth industrial revolution, we have to be part of the change, and we have to have the infrastructure to support it. So it's a great initiative by the government, and hopefully some of that money would be put forward to gender balance. And I strongly believe in merit. I think the best people should always be chosen, regardless of their gender, ethnicity, or wealth. Having said that, we need, as we mentioned earlier, we need to encourage
Yeah.
our young women and children to understand that engineering and computer science is an area of practice that is great for the society, and they should get into it. So by promoting that, I think that the scholarship will help further.
Yes. And I would agree with that as well, as really it encourages more people to feel, okay, let me try this out and let me see what it's like. I guess that was kind of my experience as well, was more, I came from commerce, but then I decided, okay, I'll try out engineering. Let's see how it goes. I like math. I enjoy those things. So that was the thing. It was really, it took trying it out to know that that's where you want to be. That's where you belong. Really, you know, overcoming, I mean, a lot of people that I see, you know, have this fear of science, or this fear of, oh, I might fail, I might do this. So I think it's really putting yourself out there, see how it goes. And I think these scholarships are what really allow people to try it out, you know, so you don't feel like, oh, what if I don't have the money to do it, or things like that. I think it's really helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And financial support is a requirement.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you won't be able. But the fact that they see there are a lot of women now, that fear will be gone. It will be something of the past.
Yes, absolutely.
And, you know, there are two sides to this as well. One is getting to the engineering, and then having our businesses to be in the way of welcoming women and making the work environment suitable for women and encouraging to women and welcoming to women. And I do a lot of public speaking in huge organizations, and I try to send a message that you need these women at your tables, and you better change the attitude you have towards women, because we need men as allies. We need them to support our growth. And, you know, I constantly say, we are not in your locker rooms. So if anybody talks and says derogative things about you, anybody, you need to speak up, because we can't speak up for ourselves.
Exactly. If we only make up 21% of the industry, we can't do that by ourselves. We need the rest of the industry to be supporting us, and that's the men in the field. And that's exactly it. Is their voices, they have a bigger voice in how many of them that they are. So
and the retention of women in the workforce is very important.
Yes.
And you know, having partners that carry equal load of the household and parenting, it goes beyond a lot of issues that you know, that sharing and partnership has to be equal all the way through the lifeline. It cannot stop at a point. So that is an important aspect of our society, that we need to change the mentality of both women and men, because women think that they have the responsibility to carry the lion's share, and I think they have to change that mindset. And they expect their partners to take the equal load. And when we change that dynamics, I think we are on the right track.
We're in this together, and we're not fighting each other. We want to just
it's all about
do this
helping each
together.
other.
Exactly.
And I don't know if you heard about the initiative 30 by 30 by the Arts Engineers. So do you think it is a feasible goal?
Absolutely. I'm one of the supporters of 30 by 30. I've spoken on the subject matter, and I think we will get there for sure. We will get there. And I think everybody has to get together and speak about the issue. The fact that we are talking about it, I always say, when I went to school, we didn't talk about women engineering. It was not an issue, because we didn't even think it was important. People didn't think it was important. Now they realize that they need the women at the table. And it is proven. Companies that they have more gender equality, they're much more profitable. So when you look at that profitability, so it's a smart business. It's not just ethically right. It's a smart business.
Exactly. You can't cut out 50% of your potential clients just because, you know, so you're missing out on that 50%. That's, you know, obviously you don't want that to be their motivation to do it just to get the money, but it is one of the factors of, like you said, making more profit is you can't cut out 50% of your clientele. You want 100% of the potential people. So that's exactly it.
So if you have like unlimited money, unlimited resource, what engineering problem would you like to solve?
Ethics of our technology. That would be my goal. Because when we want to bring a drug to the market, there's checks and balances. Look at the vaccines coming. There is certain procedure has to be followed. But when it comes to technology, there's no checks and balances. It's just the bottom line. And we try to rush it to the market because somebody else may sign the IP and we may be left behind. So we rush it to the market without considering the consequence of our actions. And that goes on many aspects of the technology that we have brought. Just example of the facial recognition that I just brought. Couldn't they have put that through tests before they have accepted it in the market? And there's so many aspects of that. And especially when we come to the AI issues and all the other aspects of technology that is running our day-to-day practices, I think that ethical aspects are missing. And if I could change anything in our society, and if I had a lot of, unlimited funding, I think I would try to focus more energy and more efforts of making sure that the technology that we are bringing to the market is for betterment of society rather than destroying society, which unfortunately the consequences of some of the actions that have happened, and we have seen many aspects of different organizations doing wrong things for just bottom line. And the governments have huge responsibility, but I don't see any action, and hopefully it will change. But sometimes at huge prices.
How do you think that the government can change? Like, how do you think the government should be involved in this?
We need more regulation on many things. People can write. Look at the fake media. It's out there. We can tell people whatever they want, and there's no checks and balances. Nobody gets questioned for it. So there has to be some sort of consequences of actions, and nobody's taking action. So there is a lot that can be done, but hopefully it will be. Sometimes we need kind of failures of things to teach us how to better our future. So that would be a hope for me to see that come into fruition, at least.
So I guess, still on the topic of kind of like engineering being advancements in society, innovations, and so much potential that it has, there are so many issues out there that we are still facing, like climate change, global hunger, population displacement. A lot of people, and I could even say for myself, you're torn between do I help society or am I advancing my career? So how would you tell a young engineer to get involved with these issues and advance their career at the same time?
Actually, you couldn't be in any better profession than engineering and computer science to help the society as a whole. Look at what's happening in BC. Look at the disasters. We can build better infrastructure. Who can do that? Engineers. We can build better sustainable energy. Who can do that? Engineers. We can come up with solution for hunger around the world. Who can do that? Engineers. I can go through every issue, climate change. Who can better address climate change than engineers? Smart cities and having a sustainable society. Who is better suited? So my advice is get involved and make it better. That will be because you are not only helping your career, you're helping the society and be cognizant of what you're doing. Have that ethics behind your mind.
Yeah.
So if you have that in the back of your mind, that you are being an engineer with conscience, you will do the society a lot of good. And believe it or not, all big firms are listening to the youth, because that whole vision of the youth, they come with a lot of ideas that the older generation don't have those new ideas. So they are brought to the table. They are asked to come up with ideas. So as young engineers, you could do a lot of good. So there is no fear of that, and they can bring change. And as they grow, don't forget your responsibility.
Yeah.
Do it right and keep it right, and take the company to the right passage. You can be the change maker. Doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
Something that I have to tell you, most organizations, good organizations, they want smart people because their growth is dependent on the smart engineers, the staff. So not speaking up and not presenting your ideas in fear of not being accepted is obviously not acceptable. So not to have, you shouldn't have the fear of expressing yourself, that because somebody is going to push you down, because how would they know how good you are if you don't let them know how good you are?
Exactly.
So that's a responsibility that you have to overcome. And everybody has that fear. But you have to have the courage. I always say, courage is not having fear, is having the fear, but having the courage to overcome that fear. So you have to have the courage to stand up, speak up, and if the organization doesn't want to listen to you, you don't have to stay there.
Yeah.
You're a good engineer, there are a lot of demands for you.
Good point.
Go where you want to be accepted, and they will accept you as a good person, and they respect your ideas. There's no reason to stay in places that they don't respect your ideas.
Yeah, company culture is key. Like having a organization that will foster, like, or encourage people to like voice up, speaking and being open. That's really important.
And the organizations, the whole ESG right now have been put down on a responsibility on companies. They do realize that if they want to be competitive, if they want to be profitable, they have to bring everybody at the table. They have to listen. And that's where the growth is going to happen. And we see that in companies that are growing. There are the companies that are more open to ideas, and they encourage criticism. They encourage new ideas, and the new generation of engineers have that power.
And I think they should, the company should have that idea. I'm lucky in myself where I work. My manager has become sort of a mentor to me. She wants me to excel. She wants me to think of my studies before anything else. She's really been pushing me to go for those opportunities and things as such. So I think that in itself, that's not something I would have expected from being an intern. You think you're just lonely, and you're there, and you're the new person and everything. So having someone in your corner and pushing you, I think that's a great thing that companies can do, is really take on those new graduates, new engineers to the industry, and kind of take them under their wing and mentor them with your knowledge, rather than thinking that, okay, maybe they don't know as much as I do and things like that. I think it's important that they really kind of teach the next generation. And as new graduates, we feel like, oh, we're the little guys, we don't know what we're talking about, but we still have something to contribute. So I think, like you said, it's really all of us coming together, old and new, teaching each other, because we all have something to offer in what our knowledge. So I think that's something I really enjoy. It gives you the confidence as well, especially as a female. being
And
that.
this whole mentoring program, and I do understand that university and the faculty, for example, we have Bombardier has started a program with Concordia University with our student. A lot of other organizations are coming forward. They want to do that type of mentoring, especially with our female engineers, because they need them.
Yeah.
It's good. It's win-win situation for everybody,
Exactly.
for the industry, for our students, for our graduates,
Mhm.
and women as a whole.
Yeah. And then your interns want to come back to you as well. So
Absolutely,
it's an
they're
extra thing right
training
there.
you.
Yeah.
You pick up the best.
Yeah, exactly. And you're creating that next generation. So
Yeah. And if like one of your daughter went to enter university in the STEM program, what advice would you give her?
First of all, my daughter did go to engineering.
she did. Wow.
But my advice would be don't give up. My fear is women giving up. Going to the university and quitting, or graduating and not pursuing their career in the area that they studied. And we see that dropping in number as the years exceed in the industry. So my most important advice would be, first of all, you have a big responsibility. You need to stay out there because you need to pave the road for the others. And also, it's a profession that is great, and everything that we do in life is engineering. From the morning you get up, every aspect of our day to day, everything we do, there's an aspect of engineering. Now even medical systems cannot survive without engineering input. Now even all the drug and vaccine production, they cannot succeed without involvement of engineering. So for women who always want to be a change maker for the betterment, and that's one of the things that they felt, that maybe the profession of engineering is not as nice to the society and it's not for the well-being of the humanity. Now they have to rethink that because the responsibility is there, and they can do way more in engineering by making our future a better future by being part of it than not being part of it. So my advice would be just hang in there. It's hard for everybody, maybe the first year and second year. Everybody, whether it's boys or girls, or young men and young women,
is hard for everyone.
they all have difficulty the first year because it's not an easy subject matter.
No.
But having said that, when you pass that first year of hardship, and nobody achieves success without hardship.
Of course.
No.
So you have to, if it was so easy, then it wouldn't be rewarding as much. So it also gives you that stature that, hey, I did it. I succeeded. I was a good student. And that is by itself rewarding and gives you encouragement to do better at your work. So then why not?
Yeah, exactly. And I always hear from those who are deciding whether they want to be in engineering. I hear, oh, I struggle with math or I struggle with physics. And I say, then you're perfect for engineering because all of us struggle with it. That's how all of us are. So that's exactly, I think that's the fear again is, oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. But you wouldn't believe how many of us do have struggle with these courses. They don't come instantly to us. They don't, like you said, it's hard for a reason. It's a really, first of all, you're taking care of these either really small or really big structures. And second of all, you're doing it in a way that is going to be beneficial to humans. And like we said, we have to be ethical in that sense and make sure that it is done to a T. So that's the struggle comes from that, and I don't think that's a thing that should be stopping people. And I agree, it's the struggle comes with the industry, but it's always so worth it once you graduate, and I look forward to it. So
oh, absolutely, it's very rewarding. It's a rewarding profession. You will all enjoy it, especially if you get into a workforce that gives you the satisfaction and you see your end product. And with engineering, you always see your end product. Whether you're writing codes, you see this the solution, when you're constantly solving problems. There's
Yeah.
never a dull moment
Yeah.
because the challenges are always there, problems are all there. And it's not a repetition of the same thing over and over. There's always new problems, and finding solutions is challenging to your mind and makes you a better person.
Yeah, like every day is like a new challenge. It's not like a routine in like in engineering.
Absolutely. It's very rewarding. If you
Yes.
look at what you're doing and how you're affecting the society, you will really feel satisfied.
Yeah.
And you can respect your profession, and you make your profession evolve accordingly.
Yeah. And I think that's a kind of a great way to end off this episode. Is really what we want to hit home is that this industry is a really special one. It's one that people don't really necessarily know, the different programs and such, but it's a really rewarding one. And I think in order to kind of encourage more women is to also make it very appealing as well. And it's fun. It's, if you enjoy these kind of subjects, then you're going to love engineering. And it's just like, it's different every day. You don't know what you're going to expect, and you could be solving different problems in the world. So I think that's a great takeaway is to really show how special this industry is, and how welcoming we, women in engineering, and yourself, Gina Cody, how we want to make this welcoming environment as well.
Yes, and this is a nice group. Just what you have gathered today here, and I really enjoyed being with you, ladies, and look forward to see what you do.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you guys will achieve great things, and I cannot wait to see what changes you will bring to our society, because you have the torch. I've passed it on. It's in your hand now.
I'm ready. Yeah.
So I'm sure each and every one of you will carry the torch.
Yes.
And thank you for doing that.
Yes. And thank you for joining us today again. And thank you to our live audience as well for being here. And as well, thank you to all our viewers who are tuning in. And we'll see you on the next episode of The Iron Ring.
Thank you.
Thank you.